For this tutorial, we're going to look at creating a very simple tower defense template. So what we're going to need to do is start off by creating some sprites. And sprite enemy, we're going to edit this sprite. New, it's going to be 16 by 16. And we're just going to use solid colors for this, or maybe some shapes. Doesn't look like I can make star shapes or anything in here, so we'll just make it a solid color for now, and these enemies are going to be yellow. Click the tick, center that, and click OK. I'm going to need a sprite for my tower, SPR tower, and I'm going to edit the sprite on this. 32 by 32, I want it to be pretty decent. And for this one, what we're going to do is I'm going to actually draw a circle. That looks like a circle. I'll just fill it with a different green. And I'm going to put a black line on this, facing, I'm not sure which way it starts off facing. I think it starts off facing to the right. So I'm going to put a black line here. Like that. Okay, so that's the way that the tower is facing. And I click OK. I'll center that. So that's all good. There's my tower. I'm going to need a button to be able to click on and build the tower. So I go SPR button tower green, and I'll edit this sprite. I'll make this pretty big. So this is going to be 128 wide by 64 high, like this. It's going to be a rounded rectangle. I can have a green outline on it, and I'll zoom in. And I'll just write some text on it for now. Build green tower. Okay. My button. And I'll get the fill. Just fill. No, I'll just leave it. Build green tower. That's fine. Okay, so there's my button. I won't center that. I don't need to. And click OK. So I've got 3 sprites now. I've got a tower, I've got a bullet, I've got an enemy. Sorry, I don't have a bullet. I've got a tower, an enemy, and a button. I need a bullet. So let's edit this sprite. New 8 by 8. So just something small. And I'll zoom in. We'll make it red with a yellow center. So I'm going to do that. Click OK. There's my bullet, SPR bullet, center that, and click the tick. So the last thing we need is our base, the thing that's going to be destroyed. SPR base, edit sprite, make it 64 by 64, it's pretty big. And I'll just quickly knock something up here. This isn't meant to be anything, it's just a... Okay, there's our base. And I will no, I won't center that. I also want to just create an invisible 32 by 32 block, SPR block, and this is going to be used to stop us building over the pathway. So we'll be able to build anywhere in the level except over the path that the enemies are going to take. So create a new sprite, 32 by 32, and I'll just fill it with black. done. Click the tick. I don't want to center this, and actually I do want to center that. Okay, so there we go. That's that part there done. So now what we need to do is create our room. Now the room's going to be fairly straightforward. Create the room. We're going to use, we haven't created any objects yet, so let's go back and just create obj path block. It's going to use this sprite block here. It is going to be visible. The enemies are going to walk on top of it. So let's go into our room and go objects, object path block, and we're going to just make a path here. I can actually make this path too wide. Now later on we could make this invisible and put down tile sets so that it looks like there's a, you know, this could be a road, there could be some trees or something there, so the enemies are going to walk along the road. And we're just going to get the enemy set up now. So what we've done is we've made a very simple path here. We're going to actually create a path for our enemy to follow. And we can select the room background, room 0, so we can see what we're going to do. And there's two ways to make a path. We're going to do it really simple with straight lines. All we do is we grab this point right up in the corner and set it here. That's going to be where our path starts. Click here, and we untick the button that says closed. Tick here, 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 and then here. Okay, so there's our path, and it's pretty much exactly the path of the road. I'm going to call it enemy path 1. Click the tick. Now make an object. Obj enemy. It has the sprite enemy. Add event. Create. And on the create event, I'm going to assign a path. And the path is going to be enemy path 1 at speed 4. At the end, it doesn't matter. We're going to tell it to stop. And we want it to be absolute. Okay, so you want that to be absolute, not relative. So I click this, and let's just test it. So I go object, put an enemy in the room. Doesn't matter where in this case, it's just a test. And the enemy should move along that path. It's probably gone behind those objects. So let's just get these and put the depth as 10,000. And if this doesn't work, we'll try it as negative 10,000. Okay, there we go. So we can see our enemy is now moving along that path. When it gets to the end, it's just going to stop, but we probably won't see it. We'll just wait and see. Now once again, we can't see that it stopped, but trust me that it has. The reason we can't see it stopped is probably because I've made the path continue just outside the room. It doesn't matter because we're going to put the base at the end of that anyway. So let's go ahead and object base, use the sprite base, and we'll just go and pop the base at the end of that object base. Put that in, and then we'll go move it to here. We might need to use the Alt key, and we can resize it so it's a bit bigger. Use the Alt key to position it there. So there's our base. That's done. So we've got, and then we need to position our button. So we'll make a button for it. Obj by green button, and it's going to use the green tower button. Click OK. go into our room, objects, by this, I'm going to put it up the top here, leaving a bit of space in there. If I need to change this a little bit, which I do, I'm going to just change the snap and then position it there. Okay, I don't want it to be that far out from the room. So I can test it and nothing will happen because we haven't told it to do anything yet. The thing should move along a path, but I've got a button up here that I can use. I've got my base down here. I've got some other things going on. And it's looking a little bit like a tower defense game. So Build Green Tower is going to be the next thing that we work on. So it's really important for you to understand that I'm not actually, I haven't really planned out exactly all the things that I'm going to do here. I am going at it from just trial and error, which is a little bit like the way you want to approach it. Okay, you don't want to go in completely not knowing what to do and just muck around. You want to have some kind of plan. So I do have a brief over here of things that I want to accomplish in the tutorial. But as for planning out how I'm going to do that, that's just left up to me to perform through trialing, which is part of the prototyping assessment. So that's why I've gone into it this way, so that you can see the process that I go through. You'll see me looking at the help menu quite a bit. And that's a similar process to what you want to do. You want to go through and try different things to see what works the best, and then record which way works the best. Okay, so what we've got here, we're going to get our enemy to blow up the base. Okay, so object enemy, add event, collision with the base, destroy self, destroy other. Okay, now let's create an enemy spawner. You notice I'm doing a lot of this one without code. There is going to be some code, but that's going to be mainly for the buy green button bit here. Okay, so create a sprite, not create a sprite, create an object. OBJ AI spawner, add event, alarm 0, and add event create. So in the create event, when it's created, we're going to set an alarm. Alarm 0 is going to be random. Number of steps, we'll do 60. We'll do it 30, so every 1 second plus 10. So it's not just going to suddenly go 135 and spawn a whole lot of enemies. There's going to be at least a half second wait, maybe, so plus 15, a half second wait between them. When alarm 0 triggers, it's going to create enemy 1. Doesn't matter where it creates it, because whenever enemy 1 gets created, it assigns itself to that path automatically. So let's go back into our room and test this. We can delete that object and we'll put in AI spawner, and let's test the room. Okay. Oh, of course. Go back into here. I need to make sure I set the alarm back to random 30 plus 15. If I wanted to be harder, I could just make that shorter. Okay, so there's enemies being spawned here. They're probably going pretty fast, but they are being spawned. When it gets to here, the base should get destroyed. So the idea is to destroy the base before it gets there. Destroy the enemies before it gets to the base. Okay, so that's it, game over. Of course, this is just a very simple template. You'd need to go a little bit further than this, and that'll be up to you to look at individual videos that I'm going to post on how to make a health bar, how to do other things. So let's just get on to making the tower. Let's create the tower first. OBJ green tower, and add event, create. On its create event, we're going to make it snap to, align to grid, 32 by 32. Okay, so it's going to align itself in that position, 32 by 32. And also we're going to check, and see what am I looking for? I want to see if the place that it's at is free. So check empty. All objects, 0, 0 relative. If the position is not collision free, I'm going to destroy the instance. Okay, I'm going to destroy itself. So let's just check this out now. So I'm going to go object. I'll have to make sure I assign that a sprite. Rooms, objects. So I'm just going to put it here. It's kind of slightly overlapping that building, but what should happen is it should align itself to the grid. And hopefully, so it aligns itself to that grid there. Okay, if it gets placed in the wrong location, so say I go into here, and I go objects and get that tower and I place it here. So the player's clicked here. Well, what it's going to do is it deletes itself. Okay, it can't go there. I'm not going to worry about money or funds or anything like that. We're just going to get this working. So let's create a script now. And we're going to call this green, we'll just call it tower main. Okay. So what we want to do is find distance to object, and the object is going to be object enemy. And if distance to object enemy is less than 100, image angle equals point direction x, y, that's the xy position of that, width, we want to check the object enemy. This might be a little bit tricky and it probably won't work the way that I'm expecting it to. Let's just, I think with object enemy, object enemy.x, object enemy.y. Okay, so let's see if this actually works. It should just turn to point to him. I'm probably getting an error. Hopefully when that gets closer. Doesn't seem to do it. Where's the code? Oh, of course I haven't told it to do anything. So add event, step, and execute that script, tower main. So let's see how this works. Okay, that's weird. Oh, those guys are changing their image angle, which is not what we want. Okay, so let's go back to here with object enemy. Self.image angle. That is the, because what, this is a little bit hard to explain. If I'm using the width function, then I should probably do it like this. Everything inside there is going to apply to the object enemy, whichever object enemy that I'm working with. I don't know if I can use for each. No. So with each, no. With object enemy, if distance, then this here would apply to the image angle of the object enemy, because that's what I'm working with. So if I put it to self, it should change it back to the tower, which is what I want it to do. So let's have a look. Hopefully Nope, still changing it to that. All right, I figured it out. So this is the code here. We need to check if there are any object enemies before we do anything. So if instance exists, object enemy, we're going to create a variable and call it closest. Maybe closest enemy might make more sense. And it's going to be equal to whatever instance is nearest. So there's a function in GameMaker called instance nearest, and we take the X and Y position of our tower and the object that we're looking for, and it will give us the closest one. And then the next line, we're going to tell our object to point in that direction. So direction equals point direction, X, Y of our tower, and then the X of the closest enemy, the Y of the closest enemy. And I've added -20 on here to give it so that it leads it a little bit rather than pointing directly at it. Image angle equals direction. Okay, so it's going to point in the direction that it's pointing. Now what we do is if closest, if distance to object, and the object is closest enemy, is less than 100, then we are going to shoot at enemy. Okay, but we're going to put this code in later. Okay, so we're just going to leave it empty for now, and we're going to put it in later because we haven't created a bullet yet. We haven't done anything like that. So let's just test to see if this works, and hopefully it should. Okay, so that's pointing just ahead of our object, and it's pointing at the closest one. Okay, so it's always going to point at the closest one, which is pretty cool. So from here, let's get our object bullet, obj bullet, and we get the bullet sprite, and that's all we should do really. Okay, so let's go back into here. We're going to make it instance create, and X, Y. The instance is going to be obj bullet, and we're going to call it new bullet. New underscore bullet equals instance create. That way we can actually make some changes to this new bullet when it comes out. So new bullet dot direction equals direction. So this is the direction of the new bullet, and that's the direction that our tower is pointed in. New bullet dot speed equals 6. Okay, so it's going to be moving in that direction at speed 6. So let's see what happens. It's just going to fire rapid fire at the moment. There's an error in the code. Where is it? Oops, I didn't close those brackets there. Okay, so when it gets to a certain speed, we might need to lead it even a little bit more. Okay, but it is shooting now. All right, so let's go into here. Add event, collision with object bullet, where we're going to destroy self and other. So we're not going to worry about health bars or anything. So now we'll just go into here. Direction equals might just leave that for now. So when it gets close enough, you see how it's shooting behind it. So that's why I was adding to it before. Okay, but they are colliding with some of them at least, not all of them. So we'll go into here and we will set an alarm. So whenever we create a bullet, alarm 0 equals 30. So 1 second is going to be the tower speed here, and alarm 0 equals 0. So it's only going to go off every 1 second. This might not work. It might only shoot one time or no times. Okay, so at the start we need to set alarm 0. And we'll have to do that in the create event. Alarm 0. Set alarm 0 to 0. And in object in here, every step, alarm 0 minus equals 1. We're going to reduce it, and this is going to be less than or equal to 0. Okay, so this should now work. Okay, and we'll just have to increase that tower speed, the tower direction. So we're going to direction equals +20. It might have to be -20 actually. Yeah, -20. And I might try -25 because it didn't seem to be working too well before. There's 25 degrees, by the way. Okay, so that seems to be working pretty well. Sometimes it misses, sometimes it doesn't. And we will fix that up later. So that's not a problem. Now what we need to do is get the button working. And so the button is going to be able to, you're going to be able to click it, and then you're going to be able to place a tower. All right, I've got my script sorted out now. And it took a little bit of trial and error. I won't go through the entire process, but on here, I want to, essentially what I want to have done is, when I've not pushed the button, I just want nothing to happen. When I have pushed the button, I want it to go into a building mode. So I need a way to switch between the two. So what I've done on the buy button is, on the create event, I've made a variable called building tower, and I've set it to false. So when it's false, it's not going to do anything. I'm not building anything. But when it's true, it's going to switch into a different mode and kind of take control for a bit without interrupting the rest of the game. And that's what happens in the step event. There's a script that I've written called buy tower. So going through this here, the top part here, if mouse check button press, so if I'm pushing the left mouse button and the position meeting of the mouse X and mouse Y is the same as the self, which is, self refers to whatever the script is attached to, or whichever object calls it. In this case, it's the button. So if I'm pushing the button and mouse X and mouse Y is over the button, then we're going to set building tower to true, and we're going to set the cursor sprite to the sprite of the tower. Now, remember, this script is updating like 30 times a second. So if that's not true, then it's going to check, well, are we in building tower mode? So if building tower mode is true, and I'm pushing the left mouse button, well, we're going to build the tower. So that's where I've got instance create at mouse X, mouse Y, object green tower, and then exit out of tower building mode. So we set that back to false. If building tower is equal to false, then we're going to set the Windows cursor to CR_arrow. I'm not actually sure if this line here is necessary. I'm not sure, but this is how it works. So I click the button. So it's not in building mode at the moment, nothing happens. I click the button and I get this little icon appearing, so my Windows cursor turns into that. And then I click again and it creates an instance of the tower there. Okay, so I can't seem to create towers next to other towers, but I can build towers anywhere and they will point towards the nearest object. Okay, so if I exit out of here and go to the AI spawner, there are ways to make this faster. One simple way is just to reduce this. So remove that from the end. That could mean that they all really come really fast. So let's click back into, we might just make the start bit of the AI spawner last a bit longer, give me 3 seconds before they start coming. That'll give me a bit of time to build some stuff. Okay, so as you can see, they're going to come a lot faster now. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know why there's no more. It may be that the alarm got set to 0 or something. So I might just have to go into here and say +1 at least. So let's try that. Okay, so they keep coming. Of course, to make this a proper tower defense game, I'd need to go ahead and add health bars for the enemies. But at the moment, it seems like it's working pretty well. I'd also want to add things like when I push this, check to see if I have enough cash. So for a green tower, it might cost $100, and then a blue tower might shoot a bit slower, but maybe have more powerful bullets. And I could essentially use the same script for all of them, so tower main, by using arguments, so that when the tower gets created, I could set its damage output and its speed as well. And then that will make some big changes to the way that the game works using those arguments that we've looked at before. That's a more advanced way of doing it. It's not necessary, but it is a more efficient and advanced way rather than separate scripts with separate values in there. Okay, so this seems to be working. I'm pretty much never going to lose at the moment. Of course, I'd want to have health for my base down here, possibly health for my towers, if the enemies were also able to attack back. Some kind of HUD that explains like what towers I can build, how much they cost, get $1 or so for every enemy that's destroyed. There's lots of things that you could do with the tower defense game. They're pretty fun, and levels are pretty easy to make. So this is just a test room, but the levels are as easy as just creating a path, and then on that particular level, assign all the monsters to that path. Not very difficult at all. Okay, so that is the tower defense game.